This is in talking about last night's segment on The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, Wednesday, February 25th, 2015, Black Stories Intertwined with Police, or Intertwined Stories of Blacks and Police. Now, number one, that was in reference to the police commissioner of New York City, Bill Braxton, making some comments about this. Number one, I want to point out he has previously been police commissioner in Chicago and in LA. He knows what he's doing. He knows about the men and women on the police force. He understands the psychology. He understands law. And he came out with a lot of things. Now, before I get into all of that, I want to point out that I was very glad to see that Lawrence had 3 black people on his show. Joy Reid, Dorian Warren, I believe the other one's Mark Thompson was the other one, to critique the whole thing as opposed to some other stupid white guy. And I thought that their comments were extremely relevant, extremely poignant. I would recommend anyone to take a look at that. But I want to sort of get into the aspect of what Commissioner Braxton had to say when he talked about both the good and the bad, as Lawrence said, and that not only did the police help protect blacks, but helped enforce laws that were against blacks for long periods of time. Now, I want to make a couple comments directly on my own in reference to all of this. Now, people talk about this as a start, yes, it's a start, but what does that mean? Well, that means that what has to be done? Well, we have to teach people more. We have to teach people more, especially in the police force, about their history, about what it was like in slavery and before. So we're really going back 300 to 400 years when we first brought slaves over in the slave trade. And how it worked in the United States, how it operated, why they did it, what were the economic advantages, how they kept the slaves down, what types of how they were owned, all of that aspect. And I know Billy and all these other people on the right want to say, oh, it's all over, everything's hunky-dory. No, it's not. In fact, there was I think it was on Daily Cost just today or yesterday, in reference to how surveys have been done recently in which white people think that the police treat black people just as well as they treat white people. Wow. I wouldn't even remotely think that, and I'm a white guy. But I believe that it's a majority. So that is very disconcerting to hear things like that. Very disconcerting. But I want to go into Commissioner Braxton, just one other thing, is that this is a long process. A lot of work has to be done. If you just take the example of the police force in New York City, what does that mean? Every new recruit is going to have to learn more history, going to learn more sensitivity, learn more understanding about the culture of the black people. I'm sure I just said that one wrong. And how thoroughly will that be done? And what's going to happen when that young rookie recruit gets out on the force with a sidekick, who's been around for a long time? What about the different department heads who may not be signing into all of this? What about the different, I won't call them police chiefs, but sergeants or whatever who are not buying into all of this? How many people have to get fired from the New York City Police Department, and what types of things have to be done? Egregious things have to be done against people of color to get people fired, so that the police force is radically and completely transformed and changed. Of course, that'll never happen, but to the extent that it can happen. And now we're talking about 2015. How many years will that take? Decades could that take? It could take a long, long time. And then that's just in New York City. What about in other places? What about in Tupelo, Mississippi? What about in Biloxi, Mississippi? What about in Selma, Alabama? What about Montgomery, Alabama? I can't think, but there's plenty of other small towns, etc. Even big towns in Florida, Gainesville, Orlando, Tampa. What is it like there in the inner city of those places? What is it like in the inner city of the larger towns in Alabama, Birmingham, etc.? How quickly will that type of thing that Commissioner Braxton is talking about today, will that effectively become part of the training process for all officers of the law in the United States? And also that would also go to the big cities up north and all these places. Because you don't have to get too far from the big city where, you know, the old ways are still going on. So I like to think of that as a start. And there's much more to be done. And I commend Commissioner Braxton for having it on. And I also commend Lawrence for having it on, because this is something, and I think that one of them, I do believe that it was Dorian Warren, who basically indicated that, number one, the commissioner may not have even made that speech if it hadn't been for the couple instances that happened this summer, one in New York and the other one in St. Louis, and that even we're right now at 3 years past the Trayvon Martin thing, and we still have stand your ground laws in Florida. So there's a lot that still needs to be done. Is this the start? And I would like to say that I would hope that this would be the start of this, and that it is going to have to be pressured by the minority community that this needs to keep going. And I want to just take a break from that real quick and just say there's a lot of great things on. President Obama spoke the other day, last night on MSNBC, which I thought was absolutely great. But the reason, and there were a number of other things there, but we still are not going to be funding the Department of Homeland Security. I guess people like their jobs in Congress. You know, it's a good job to keep because I'm in an all-white district. But I really appreciate Lawrence bringing that on. He's taking on a difficult subject. It's a start. It's something that needs to be discussed. It needs to be continued to be discussed. But as was pointed out, that if the Attorney General had brought that up, which he has brought up many times, no one's going to pay any attention to it because a white commissioner brings it up. So I would applaud him for doing that, and I would ask other white commissioners to do the same type of thing so that we can get some type of movement on this. Trying to think if there's one other thing about all that. Can't think of it.